Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hera TV. My name is Lale Hancock. I'm one of the Hera ambassadors, and I am here having this great conversation with my friend today. Her name is Tasneem Virani. So, welcome, my dear friend.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this, Lale.
Mhm. As you guys have been watching Hera TV, or if this is your first time, you see we have some incredible people on this magical planet who are really making a difference. They're not just connecting for their communities, but they're bringing communities together. And this special guest has been doing lots of unique things in business the last 20 to 25 years. She started with her training in human resources and got into organizational development. And I'm actually really excited because she's part of an organization called WISI in support of that. But she also just wrote a book, and it's called Human Touch Leadership. And considering my background focuses all on leadership, I'm so fascinated by her approach. So today, we want to highlight you and just tell us everything there is about you. Well, as much as we can cover in a quick visit.
Yeah.
But was there something in your childhood as a young adult that inspired you to, this human touch, this
Yeah.
human relationship that got you down this field?
I think I was always inquisitive. And I remember as a young child, always almost worrying, why are these people sad? Why are they shouting at each other? And I couldn't make out why some people would say one thing and do the other. So I think I've always studied human dynamics and I've always wanted to be Miss Fix-It. So by that curiosity, I thought, well, I want everything to get on well. I want everyone to get on well. I don't want people to have differences. And I think that was that child calling. So obviously, throughout my life, I've looked at how can I be better at me and how can I help people around me. So, I mean, it's interesting because human resources wasn't a career in my early days. But I was always interested in the people side. And then I worked with my husband in the family business and always taking care of the people and the customer service. And then I decided that I wanted to open up my flower shop. And I opened up a flower shop and I called it What is Flowers? So it's floresque. But it was always around being customer centric, going to what the heart of people wanted. And it's only later that, I discovered that what do I really want to do? And I studied psychology and, studied performance management and really went into understanding human behavior. And that's what led me to grow and build my career over the last 23 years. But the human touch has been in my mind for a long time. And it was only the pandemic that sort of, I think the confidence I felt is when I interviewed 27 leaders from different backgrounds. And I said, well, what am I going to do with all this material? And then I thought, well, if I really want to now pivot, what has been my knowledge, skills, and abilities all my life and my passion? And how can I put that into a book? And so the book has two parts. It's about the human touch leadership, and it's about the 27 leaders' stories. And human touch, I think I'm glad I've written it now rather than then, because human is the capacity of the human brain and the potential of the human mind. And I tie it in with neuroscience. And then the touch is, how do you touch? And, touch is an emotive word, like emotions. How do you touch it in a way that it speaks to be its best? So that's through emotional intelligence. That's through the conversations we have that stimulate the chemicals in the brain to ourselves and others. And that's through reflection. So I think I've taken that approach. And of course, leadership, there is a leadership now that we need. And it's a leadership that is more human, more humble, more wise, more empathetic, more compassionate, that brings everybody together, because we don't have the solutions. We need to co-create and collaborate. So that's what got me excited about the book.
Well, it's so interesting that this, time that, the world shut down,
Yeah.
I actually think it's when the world got more creative.
Yeah.
It's when people weren't on the go, 5,000 miles an hour, including you, including
Yeah.
me. We used to travel all the time and really looking from within. And, like you described, one of the areas my businesses cover is leadership. It's one of the most important parts. And
Mhm.
for me, I always tell people it's not your title. A 2-year-old can be a leader. It's just who's willing to go where they know they have to go, even if no one follows.
Yeah.
And like you described, I remember doing a 6-month leadership program for a not-for-profit many
Mm.
years ago. And one of the things that we had to go through was, deprogramming them of what leadership was. Thinking the authoritative, the one that's telling them, hey, this is just how it is, and we don't care what you think. Like that mindset just wasn't going to work.
So,
The
yeah.
sit back and watch and kind of like let your children kind of take over. That doesn't work. Like we really had to go through the different stages of leadership, different types of leadership, and describe it's not about being one. It's about knowing what do you need to be, what actions do you have to take at different moments to really empower others, to bring them in, bring their ideas together, and figure out how you move forward together, you
Yeah.
know?
Lale, it's really fascinating because if you look at the last 100 years, human behavior in leadership has evolved. And people accepted a certain way, autocratic leadership was accepted. But I think because the human mind has evolved so much, people don't want to be bullied and suppressed anymore. They won't accept it. So even we see generational changes with, like the word respect. It's like before you were the father or you were the parent or you were the teacher and everyone obeyed. And in the last 20 years, I would say that has changed, where even the generations say, the younger, even my 7-year-old grandchild will tell me what to do and I will learn from him. So the mind has changed. And I think, yeah, and I think the pandemic has really, brought all the sort of factors of a global change of behavior where we're looking at men and women. And this is why I like the philosophy you have of Hera, because it's working together towards a much more peaceful world. It's embracing that diversity. And in order to do that, you need to work on yourself as well as work on learning about others and how you manage that relationship and how do you have those conversations. So, yes, I think we're in a very exciting world at the moment. We've got to go through the pain to grow, like anything in life. But each one of us to stop and reflect.
There's so many gifts in your book. When you even talk about human touch, I want to come back again to the conversation of Hera. The cities that we're building, the programs that we're creating around the world is about empowerment.
Mm.
Not so much, I know what to do here, I'm telling you, but how do we get each person to shine in
Mm.
what they know, empowering them with tools, resources, yes, but not about here, I'm just here to feed you. It's like, how do we really teach them to feed themselves? And not just for one person, like we talked earlier a couple days ago, you and I,
Yeah,
the gift of Hera, focusing on the light of women is because women bring their community together, their
yeah,
community of their husbands, wives, children, cousins, neighbors,
yeah,
and the strangers, it's like it really is this bringing together of communities.
yeah.
So, what I love is how you frame in your book about exploring this human component of leadership. So, can you say maybe a little bit more? Maybe there's a tool from
Yeah.
within the book that you might be able to share with people?
Okay, so in the book, I also discuss what sort of qualities a human touch leader would need. So it needs somebody who has got an open mindset and a growth mindset. Because if you have a fixed mindset, the chemicals in your brain react very differently to when you have an open mindset. And that's all in the book, how the chemicals of the brain work. So it's having a growth mindset and also the ability to listen to the other. Because if you're just focused on your own ideas and thoughts, you're not open to listen to the other on what they're saying. So I think the book brings about the qualities of a human touch leader and also how to use emotional intelligence effectively. So, emotional intelligence, we are emotional beings. Sometimes, I mean, a lot of us grew up with emotions were shut in the door. You just sit and cry in the corner or shout. But emotions are your powerful voice of energy, and learning how to navigate through those emotions and be able to have a change of thought or change of emotion in literally a few seconds all depends on you. You can't change, you can't control of what a lot is going on, but you can control what's on inside your head. And I think that's, a lot of what I would say is how do we listen to ourselves and listen to others? How do we really have that empathy and park everything about us to be truly there for the other and also listen to our emotions? I mean, I would say every day, unpack your emotions in the morning when you wake up because they're always mixed. And don't just carry on the day. Just give yourself 5 minutes or even do that meditation practice that helps you set your pace for the day. Because our mind is full of clutter.
You said it so beautifully, actually, because it is. We really need to erase. When we wake up, we need to erase yesterday.
Yeah,
Yesterday's already gone. You can learn from it, but if you allow that mind clutter to keep yesterday into today, well, what's going to change? What else can you create? You can't. You're still living in the past,
yeah,
you know. And so often we are made wrong for having emotions, like, oh, you shouldn't be crying, you shouldn't be upset, but the things that we're told not to do is what we bottle up and then one day explodes, which is what
exactly,
I've seen that in leadership
exactly,
too. But that's not
exactly.
really what works either. So it is figuring out. And you I know you work a lot with different leaders around the world, but what we're talking about applies to every single one of us.
Hmm,
When I'm thinking of an individual who's at home for, a mom, let's say a
hmm,
stay-at-home mom, well, she has to be a leader. She has
hmm,
to take care of the finances. She has to organize activities, food. Like there's so much leadership involved in that. I'm
hmm.
not even going to call it a job because it's not a job, but that role that they're playing. And if they're willing, if every person was willing to apply the tools of what you're talking about in their day-to-day life, I wonder what kind of world we would have.
You know, Lale, when I think like, and I know you probably can resonate with this, that even when we were parented, they did the best job that they knew how. But still, as children, we carried on memories of emotion
Yeah.
that we replicated into behavior as adults. So I agree, it takes at home to look at how am I leading my child and how am I empowering my child and how am I listening to my child? Because if I don't, they take it into the memory of adults. And then, of course, as humans, we can unpack and we can grow and we can heal that. But I do think that it would be a much better world if we had all these skills.
Excuse
It's okay. If we had all these skills from a much earlier age. And you do a lot on parenting consciousness, I think.
Yeah, actually, I have a program called Conscious Parents, Conscious Kids, and a program called Leaders of Tomorrow. But
Right.
Leaders of Tomorrow is not just for the youth, but it starts at the age of 8, because that's when they're actually willing to look at it from a different place, you know? And
Yeah.
my Leaders of Tomorrow program had like a couple of programs I've done. Literally, we had 10-year-olds until 100. We had CEOs, we had stay-at-home parents, we had massage therapists. Like, we grouped people who really wanted to do more in leadership
Yeah.
together. And the CEOs at first, they laughed at me. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm going to be here
Yeah.
with a 10-year-old. But they realized they were taking more notes in this class when the youth was talking than they were with anybody else, because there's this creative thought, there's ideas. They're not afraid of consequences when they're that young. They're
Yeah.
still willing to ask a question and be that curiosity and say, oh, I wonder if this approach would work.
Yeah. What's fascinating about that is that you brought in a whole lot of human dynamics from all different ages. And you can see at the end of the day, we are all similar in the way we motivate, the way we create, the way we empower, the way we solve problems. And we just need to learn how to use our human mind and manage those emotions effectively and reflect and reflect.
And be willing to make mistakes. I think
Yes.
one of the things that I wish I was taught when I was younger
Yeah.
is that, listen, every decision that you make now, every choice you're making is creating a future. So it's okay if you made one, it's good for
Yeah.
1 minute. That's it. Or even 10 seconds. Like, what if we didn't make it be for life anymore? And allow people to make mistakes. One of my most favorite stories is 3M. The sticky notes that we put up everywhere on
Yeah.
our computers and everywhere.
Yeah.
That was a mistake. That was not the project that they were actually going for.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah, they were trying to create glue that would stick and never come off.
Oh my gosh.
And the scientist who was involved in it flipped it. He found a glue that wasn't permanent, and he wasn't afraid to share it. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of
Yeah.
times when they think their project didn't turn out the way they want, they don't want to tell anyone. It becomes a secret. He went the opposite direction. He was like, hey, what can we do with this? You
Yeah.
know? It's become one of the greatest inventions of the planet. Like, every country has it.
Yeah.
Every household has one, at
Yeah.
least. So, like, I'm just wondering, like, if we stopped trying to be
Mm.
perfect parents, perfect leaders, perfect at everything, and looked at it as more of like, wow, what would create greater here?
Mm.
And allow your creativity to guide you
Yeah.
instead of the form structure. We're here, we have to do it only one way, that's why that style of leadership doesn't work. If you do not engage your employees, if you do not engage their thoughts, their ideas, it's not going to live
It's
very
not
long,
going
and
to
it
live.
won't go very far either.
And also, you don't have all the answers to everything.
Mhm.
If you can collaborate and listen to people's ideas. And this is why I love working as an organizational coach, because when I go into an organization, I'm almost the one who's fixing and connecting the dots from the board level to the front line. So getting them to sort of listen to what's happening in every part of the organization and everyone having a voice to collaborate together. It's like somebody asked me just recently that during the pandemic, we had a culture of an organization, we worked a certain way, we followed a certain way, and now people are working remotely,
Yeah.
or they're working in the office, or they don't want to come back to the office. So how are we going to sustain this culture? And what I'm saying, it's again the same process like I use in the Human Touch program. It's about the way you ask the questions, the way you listen to the thoughts, you listen to the emotions, and you build actions together to bring that culture back. Because if you criticize and blame and judge, and that person will never work, or that person will never do this, or I don't want them, you've limited And maybe that person wouldn't be right, but everyone's got to discover that process themselves. So the art of questioning is really important, and how to question with the purpose of collaboration.
That's the biggest key. We have to be in question, not an answer.
Yeah.
And judgment, think about it. When someone, like they've tested on plants,
Yeah.
when you give it gratitude, it grows. When you judge it, it dies. Like imagine that human who's standing in front of you and you're doing that
Yeah.
consistently. What motivates them to want to work or even, continue to even be part of your organization? So we've come to the end of our interview here. Thank you so much for you. Thank you for this incredible book, The Human Touch Leadership. And where can people find it?
Well, it's on Amazon Kindle, and in 2 weeks' time, it'll become a paperback. I'm
Wonderful.
just finishing off the last bits to, turning a Kindle into a paperback, and so that it can be available in more marketplaces. And the book does include a lot of the neuroscience knowledge. So, you talked about gratitude. Well, that's serotonin trickling in your brain.
Mhm. How does it get even better than that? I love it. Okay. Any last words of, empowerment for people who are watching? Like, how do they take the first step of their leadership?
Start reflecting. What is it that I do well and I know I do well? And what is it that I want to do more of? And start reflecting. And also remember that your unconscious is much more powerful than your conscious mind. So start meditating or reflecting and seeing what comes up. And if anything is providing a limiting belief for you that you can't do it, examine it, because you can do it. You have an incredible potential, and your gift of life is you're here on purpose. You're not here by accident.
Thank you so much. Well, if people would like to find you, we have more details below
Thank you.
in the comment and description section that they can reach you if they'd like to work with you or just connect with you. And thank you so much. And look forward to seeing you with more possibilities with Hera as well.
Yes, I'd love to, and working with you, because we've got the same goal, and we come from different ways, and I think we can learn so much from each other.
I do too. Thank you so much for today. And thank you all for watching. And if you ever have any questions, you can go to harriscity.org and send us a message. And we look forward to seeing you in person really soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.